I believe you said one of the most important things for a new filmmaker is to figure out their creative voice. Mm-hmm. Why is this so important?
Because that's the only thing that's going to guide you through this. There's a long ago, the philosopher Plato had this concept of the ideas, which were sort of archetypes that exist already in the cosmos, and we as humans, as conscious entities, we latch onto them and then we make our version of them. But they already kind of exist as pure ideas. And I think there's something very true to that. And we as creatives are in a way sort of antennas that are trying to pull in one of those pure ideas and articulate it. And certain creatives respond to certain ideas and they kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, this is something you need to pay attention to. I need you to filter this idea through you and make me in the world. That's how an idea becomes very persistent. That's why you hear filmmakers or novelists or what have you that have had an idea sitting with them obsessively for decades before they ultimately actually make said piece. But the persistence of the idea doesn't fade. So getting back to sort of your own creative voice in your brand, you need that articulated to yourself. You don't have to be able to write it out and know exactly what it is in the box, but it has to be a part of how you interface with the world, how you see things, your perspective, your POV on life, that avails you to having that kind of inspiration where you know an idea is yours to articulate, that it is purely something that is in your voice. And then when things get complicated, when all the rigors of the actual doing set in, if you don't have that magnetic north, that sort of compass of your voice, of what you're trying to say, you get lost in the weeds and it can just completely crumble. So it's a navigation tool to finding the ideas that resonate with you, attracting them to you in some kind of maybe cosmic way. And also, when you're in the complexity of articulating them, of the doing of them, the bringing them into manifestation, having that guiding set of principles of what you say and what your vision is the only thing that you can rely on, because people are going to give you contrary opinions. You're going to deal with towering obstacles almost at every turn. So getting your voice down, it's not an artificial thing. It's more of an immanent, how you see the world and how you process the world out the other end in creative expression. Getting that kind of down and self-aware, I think is imperative, because it's kind of your seeing eye dog through all this. You rely on it to navigate you through some of the places where you might feel like you just can't see your way out of.
Do you believe that these ideas find us, that they're in the ether, and maybe
I
they
do.
choose certain vessels?
I do. I know that's a little kind of out there, but I really do. I really do believe that. And I think the more articulated you are to yourself about what you stand for creatively and the stories that you want to tell and that you think you can tell well, then those sorts of stimuli start to present themselves to you. You hit upon a book that you're like, oh my gosh, this is the book I've been looking for to tell this story. Or someone says something to you in passing about an anecdote that happened to them. You're like, that's a movie, or that's a television show, what have you. It tunes your radar, and then these ideas that are out there can find you more easily, and vice versa, I think.
How does a filmmaker or storyteller hone their creative voice?
It's through the doing, it's through the trial and error of doing. You'll find things that you try that don't work. You'll find things that you're blown away with that work extremely well, that you surprise yourself with. And I think you start to collate some do's and don'ts from the doing through the actual effort of making material. And as much as one can, the making of material is the learning process. You can read and absorb information about the process or watch, master classes of filmmakers talk about their process. But unless you're doing your own, unless you're finding your, where you excel and where you also, might have some obstacles to your craft, that's how you find it. That's how you refine it too. So I think any and all ability to make the craft a verb, a doing, a thing that is actionable, one should, because that's how it becomes, it's like a musician practicing, it becomes a muscle memory of what you know how to do well and can expand upon that.
If this is interesting to you, the first 5 chapters of our book, Story Questions, is all about finding your voice. As thanks, just for watching this video, we're giving you 10% off Story Questions on PayHip. The first 100 people who use the promo code YourVoice will get an additional 10% off. During checkout, make sure you click the link Add Coupon and type Your Voice. You get a powerful writing tool and you help support Film Courage. Now, back to the interview. And you didn't initially set out to be a filmmaker. You studied environmental science?
I did. It was a bit of both. I knew by the end of high school that I really wanted to make films. I didn't know how to do it. And my impulse from my family and where I was in high school in the Northeast at the time, there wasn't a clear pathway except, NYU Film School in my neck of the woods. And I never conceived of, coming all the way across the country to California. And at the time that I was looking at doing college film endeavor, there just wasn't that much available. There's the hundreds and hundreds more film schools now than when I was even considering it. So I wanted to get, much at the urging of my father in particular, I wanted to get a degree in something that I also thought was meaningful, but that was a little bit more practical. Even though environmental science isn't that extremely practical either. I think it's very valuable these days given the state of climate change and so forth. But it was, I don't want to say it was a detour, because I think there was a lot of value in learning that material. But at the same time, I was still inclined and planning to go into film. In fact, my very first semester of college, I got mononucleosis, the long flu type cold, and I had to drop out because I was so tired and sleeping so long to try to kick it that I wasn't able to really go to class. So I went back to Philadelphia, where my family and where I grew up, and I actually took some film classes at the University of the Arts in downtown Philadelphia, where we shot with hand crank black and white Bolex cameras and cut on the Revis razor splicing machines. I mean, very, very crude, bare bones filmmaking 101. And it was so gratifying. But, then the semester to return to school once I had gotten well, came back around, and I said, all right, look, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to get this degree. I know I love this. I'm going to sort of put it on ice for a minute. And then lo and behold, as soon as I finished college, I was applying to film schools for grad school.
So you thought maybe you'd go work for Fish and Game or...
I didn't really have a plan.
Forestry.
I mean, I didn't really have a plan with it, to be honest with you. I mean, I like animals. I appreciate the natural world, and I think it needs its protections desperately. So, you know, I felt certainly inclined towards what I was learning and what that path could offer, but I didn't have a plan. I really didn't have a plan. It was more of an alibi, quite honestly, than a plan.
It's a good alibi. Yeah, I like it. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.